Welcome to this best practice presentation focused on unstructured data migration. Our featured presenter today is Benjamin Henry, Field CTO at Komprise. And in this series, we're going to cover 5 topics. We're going to focus first on planning, how to make sure you plan a successful migration initiative. We're going to then focus on reducing your data footprint, setting up migrations, how to minimize downtime, and troubleshooting. So Benjamin, before we jump into planning, let's just discuss what are the most common reasons for migration in the first place.
Yeah, and in order, the most common reason I see is end of life gear. I have to get off of that as soon as possible because it's no longer supported or it's going to not be supported very near in the future. Capacity requirements, again, the only way to get more capacity is to migrate to a new storage platform, or I've got a cloud mandate.
Yep, makes sense. All right. Well, today we're going to focus on planning. Why don't you take us through what you're gonna show us in a Komprise demonstration?
Yeah, I mean, the 3 key aspects of a successful migration is the identification of what you're going to be migrating, in this case, the shares, the identification and the migration complexity. How difficult is it going to be to migrate these? And then defining and committing to your outage windows. So with that, let's focus on the first 2 and dive in, Darren. One of the ways I like to start planning for a migration is I start with the analytics. To me, that is invaluable in being successful at planning a migration. So I'm going to start here with our plan page and our data donut. The first thing here is it shows me my heat map, how hot or cold my data is. And we'll have more on that here in the next one of the next videos of our series. I then flip over to the usage. This helps me understand a little more about the characteristics of what am I trying to migrate. So we give you a bunch of different categories to help you understand your data footprint. And here in this demo we're doing today, the largest consumer by file count is video files, then archive files, log files, and so on and so forth. So these are categories that are customizable, but the biggest amount of data for the demo today is video files. So let's take a look at the size of these files. Size of the files kind of drives how long are my migrations going to take. And here I can see the largest quantity of data from a size perspective is my 10K to 1 meg files. So I'm generally working with a lot of small data. I can come down here, see who the top owners are of my data. I can go on to see the groups. I can go on to see some of the directories. There's always a question of, can we handle special characters? The answer is yes, we can handle special characters as seen here. The top shares and so on and so forth. From there, I can also jump into some of the analysis activity and the metrics into what's being analyzed. I can see the number of directories, the average files per directory, the average size of my directory, the number of files, average size of files. These 3 categories, I actually like a lot. Symbolic links, sparse files. It's always a great question to ask before you acquire storage is if you have this in your environment, can the storage technology you're migrating to support these categories? If not, you may have to come up with an alternative to deal with these files. Or you may want to choose a different storage platform that does support them if they're in your environment. But it all starts with the analytics. It's invaluable. So from here, I want to also talk about orphan data. It's something we hear a lot about, but it's not something that companies have ways of identifying or dealing with that. So we have a report, and there's a couple of different ways to go about this. I'm going to go with how you would show leadership management. How much orphan data are you working with? So from the reports tab, you click on orphan data. You can choose the shares that you want to filter by. I have everything selected and I've already generated that report here. But again, in this demo scenario, orphan data is accounting for over 3 million files. And based on industry standards of storage costs, it's costing this organization over $800,000 over 3 years just to hold on to that orphan data and keeping it on prime storage. That's a great use case to do something with it, tear it off, move it somewhere else. But again, I'll save that for another one of our conversations here on how to reduce your storage footprint before you migrate. All right. So now let's get into the actual planning of this. I really enjoy using the data stores tab. Data stores tab to me does 90% of my migration planning for me. In here, I've got my clusters, my SVMs, my access zones, my shares. They're all in here. In addition to that now, you can drill into them and go and explore what's inside these shares from a single pane of glass. So if I just choose one of my NetApp clusters here, I'm going to choose this SVM, and then I can actually drill in here and I can see the files, folders, the owners, access time. It's all visible to me here. So let me back up a couple steps here. So from here, I like to modify the view a little bit to add some columns that are really helpful in migrations. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to add in my share path that up here right around my protocol. I like to also add in my number of directories. So let's go up here and get directories. Directories is right there. The number of items. Okay, let's add that in. And then I also like to get the data size. That's good. Data size. And the last one here is modified. I like to understand how much my data is actively being modified. And that's a tunable parameter. See, there's a gear behind it. You can change and set the parameters for what classifies as modified data. Right, I'm going to go ahead and save that. Once I save that, I come up here and I export that report. So let's take a look at that report. In here, I've got a full extract of all of my file servers, the clusters, the SVMs, and the shares. From here, I can again see the share path as it relates to the path on that specific file server, the number of directories, the number of items, the size, the modified amount of data, whole data, and how much of that is free. I added one more column to this, which is just my destination. So all I have to do at this point is just plug in my destination in here and where I want to migrate this data to. And from there, all I have to do is go into my migration tab, plug and play, and hit go. That's as simple as it can be.
Great, Ben. That was a great overview with some really powerful analytics to help you with your planning. In our next presentation, you're going to talk about how to reduce your data footprint, as you mentioned. Look forward to that. So in the meantime, folks can go to komprise.com/migration to learn more about really powerful and simple strategies and software to help you migrate faster and more efficiently. Thanks, Ben. Talk to you next time.
Thank you.